Hello, welcome to PropTech in the Wild. What happens after the demo? I'm Dorota Firek, CMO at Tour 24, and I'm here with my co-host, Kara Atman, the unstoppable Kara Atman, principal at North Current Consulting, career technologist, and also previous CTO, CEO at the Cardinal Group. And we are recording live from Optech. It's very exciting, and we're very excited to record from Futures Labs, where the coffee is so strong that it could probably power like the data center that we have, right? Today we are joined with two incredible leaders, and we're so happy to have you with us today. Heidi Jalaka. Heidi Jalaka is a VP of Marketing at Bainbridge, and Katie Mancuso Rice, VP of Leasing and Marketing and Tailwind Group. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. We're thrilled. So we're going to start with the easy question. So what tech really popped during Optech for you that made you say, okay, get my money and fix some things?
I think it's still AI. I think that we are still figuring it out in our space. I've heard systems. I've heard AI truly being AI and very conversational to not, the word bot is sort of gone out of our language, but we still have to force some of the AIs that we have available to us with questions and answers on the backside. And that doesn't feel very AI-ish. Had some really great conversations around what the experience is like in the hospitality industry, what it's like when we interact with the airlines that we are flying all the time, and they've figured it out. So I think we're still talking AI.
Do you think we're still a little bit behind of hospitality as a multifamily, as a unit?
We are.
You are.
Yes, I think we are. And, not too far, right? If we would have had this conversation, say, 5 years ago, I would have told you we were much further behind. But we all know the pandemic really catapulted us, which was not, I don't think, a bad thing. It really helped us embrace technology and embrace things that were happening around us that we were missing in our space. So I don't think we're that far behind, but I definitely think we're still trailing behind.
But you are so right, because I started my career in multifamily right during COVID time. And that was an industry that was really behind all the high-tech technology, was really something that people were scared of. And now, even AI, we were scared of AI, and now we're actually embracing it and optimizing things.
Yeah.
How is it for you? Which technology stood out?
Yeah, what's been really exciting, I'm always energized by how we are optimizing how AI is speaking to each other across our different solutions. So how do we have data, a data fabric or data connectivity, so that way we are truly learning our customers and knowing our customers. The great opportunity in student is we are forced to innovate really quickly, because that is the next generation of the conventional renter. So we get to be on the cutting edge of opportunities of how do students want to shop? How do they want to experience living in our communities? And that influences where we advertise, how we advertise, and it's pretty exciting. So I think really the data side of the technology is really important for us, so we can learn those customers and understand and really meet them where they're at. It's exciting, because also our staff on site is students as well sometimes too. So it's meeting our staff and our renters, and also their guarantors or their parents.
Yeah.
So it's really an exciting time to evaluate it all together.
So her students are your next customer, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And they're coming to us having experienced student housing or off-campus student housing, right? So they're coming to us with a whole. They're much smarter. They've already experienced, in a lot of cases, luxury, technology, fast-paced, get what they want when they want it. They've been eating fast food for a long time, but now they're living fast living, and now so then they come to us in conventional, and they're challenging to, I think that's a part of the challenge, and the reason we need to adapt faster.
So their expectations are as my expectations about good coffee
That's
at
right.
conferences, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. Well, and students don't want to be sold to, and that's only going to
Yeah.
further influence as you look down the line for conventional adult, like active living. They don't want to be sold to. They want the vibes to be right. They want to see authenticity, which I think you do see in conventional, but it's forcing it a whole lot faster. So it's exciting as different solutions come to play. How do you keep that at the forefront?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that as far as there's so many different solutions out there, and certainly Optech is such a great place to get a full view of everything on the horizon that's available and what's new kind of coming. Heidi, let's start with you. When you're deciding between two promising tech options, how do you make that decision? What's the tiebreaker? And, even thinking back to some recent decisions that you made, how did you go about that?
Yeah, so I think, our approach is ease of use for all stakeholders. And so stakeholders are the user experience that the guest and the residents are experiencing with that technology, and then how it fully integrates with all of the other platforms that we use on site. So the big thing, though, is that ease of use, and that they talk to each other. The last thing that we need to do is add another thing to our tech stack that doesn't speak the same language as something else. And really, it's your property management software. It's what everybody's working in, and really we need everything to talk to that. So there's that streamline of communication. It's nothing worse than having to log into 3 different softwares to figure out a conversation, or if a work order comes in, or whatever the technology is that we're talking about. You need it right here. I can't log into 3 places. I can't read transcripts. I'm sorry, but our team members don't have time to read telephone transcripts. It needs to auto-populate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because there are solutions that'll come to play and say, like, hey, we solved for this problem. We're taking this off the plate of the site teams. But if they have to log into another dashboard where they don't have the connective intelligence across, you're still adding things onto the plate. And that seems like common sense, but in some cases, it's not. And it's happening probably more often than we'd all like. So it's like, how do we all get it all to speak to each other?
Yeah.
So that brings me to a kind of question that is thought-provoking. How many times have you actually experienced pitch? Because we're talking about this, shiny technology. Everybody's pitching you during a conference, and this is really like the moments to shine for a lot of technology companies. How many times have you heard, "This is gonna be seamless"?
Oh my gosh. Don't get me started on the phrase plug and play. Because nothing, change management is non plug and play. So yeah, seamless, all that, but it's like, is it truly? Is it true?
This might age me, but there's nothing that's Ronco on that showroom floor, which Ronco goes back to the set it and forget it mentality. Nothing is like that. I think if we all embrace the fact that the technology is going to get us 80% of the way there, and the 20% is the eyes that need to look at it, the eyes that need to bring it that the conversation still needs to happen with a human, whether we have AIs answering our phones or AIs taking service requests. I think it's still, if we are in the hospitality business, which we are, and we are delivering exceptional customer service at all of our communities, that requires a human to do it. AI can't do that for us.
And how many you work with your leasing teams, how many of your team members think that this is going to replace their work versus actually optimizes? I think they still may have a really misconception of really what's happening. We're talking about optimizing things, not replacing. You said there's a huge human component. Do you think there is such a misconception even among your teams?
I think AI know that the misconception is not, yes, there's a fear there. I don't want to discredit that. I don't think that the fear is as high with AI as it is if somebody were to walk in and say that we're centralizing.
wow.
Centralizing is a word that for the on-site team members immediately means we are going to have less people on site. We are going to have, that could be my job, that could be my friend's job who I work with. And I think that the word centralization is more fearing to them than saying that we're going to roll out an AI tool. And perhaps it's the way that it's spun, right, from the sponsor at the corporate office and how that's rolled out. But that's my opinion on where the fear
It's a really
might lie.
interesting take, right? I've never heard that before, but I can appreciate that. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about that resistance and that change management effort. So, Katie, talk to us a little bit about specifically. I mean, we all know there's change resistance and people are fearful,
Yeah.
but what does that tactically look like, and how did you work through that with the team?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing it's super important in the early stages is making sure that you're having conversations with stakeholders at various levels in the organization so they have the buy-in, so they understand the why, so they don't have fear if fear is a part of it. But then also really understanding context and capacity. Because I think each of us as different department leaders, we all have either the shiny thing or the process we want to implement. If we all try to do it at the same time, it all will fail. And I think it's really important to slow down cross-functionally and look at when do we want to launch this and why do we want to launch this? What does training look like? What does support after? Because sometimes it's not necessarily the implementation. It's life after implementation that can be the internal resistance. It's the fear of like, okay, but who's going to help me when it breaks? Or who's going to help me when the knowledge basis isn't updated? Who owns those responsibilities? So I think sometimes for us, what I've heard is like the fear is like, has this fully been mapped out to be successful? Or is it just we're slapping this tech on to fix this problem? And it's not just the tech alone, it's the people, it's the process. It's really important, I think, when we can to pilot so we can learn and understand what works, what doesn't work, what processes do we need to change. So we are also utilizing a tool to the fullest of its ability. So a lot of people have a lot of really great ideas, but slowing down is what's going to allow you to speed up and not have the resistance.
Absolutely. Great point there. I think there's always so much pressure to move as fast as possible, right? But it's how do you measure that success at the end of did you really get there or did you just move fast and break things all along the way? Always a fun challenge. Let's talk a little bit more about your vendor relationships through this process. So as I'm sure you both have worked with dozens of vendor relationships. When you think about what you wish that they understood better about how to be that partner with you, how to help overcome some of those, adoption obstacles, that type of thing. What do you wish that those vendors knew about your operations to help through that process?
Yeah, I think what's really key is taking the time to ask questions and understand the true problem, making sure you're aligned on the same vision. So when things go wrong, because they do go wrong, you have a partner and not a vendor. They're going to be alongside with you and they're going to help you fix it. They're going to give your team margin. It's not kind of, we talk about too, like, how do we take things off our site team's plate, but also as we have operations support teams or marketing support teams, leasing support teams, we want to get back to our people as much as possible. Is this a vendor that's truly a partner working alongside us to give us that margin so we can be strategic? So I think that's really key. It's the differentiator of a partner and a vendor and having that long-term investment together, a shared investment and finding that collective success.
I think one of the other challenges is, again, I'll throw out another analogy, is not all vendor partners have had the experience of looking under all the hoods. And so they have complete knowledge of what's underneath their hood and how things are working, but they don't have visibility on, say, something that we're integrating into or we need a feed into, or what if we, had made a decision to leave from a competitor to them, and what were our pain points over here. They didn't have visibility of what was the back end, what caused that error. And I think, part of that is, that's a differentiator. I don't know that I have an answer to how to solve that, but I do find oftentimes that I'll say, let me do a screen share with you so I can show you what's on the backside. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, I had no idea. And I think that is a big, a big thing. But honestly, who's going to let your competitor look underneath the hood?
No, that's fair.
No, I think that's a great point of even thinking about not just wishing that the tech vendors understood better, but taking the time where you're explaining the full context of your ask as well, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
a lot of times things get lost when there's just an ask without that background.
Yeah.
Of what is the problem that's causing? So I think that's got to build trust and more understanding as far as how to.
And we're not, we're not the easiest industry to just come into market with either. We've got nuances that make us very different. And it may have worked really well in another vertical, and they were highly successful thinking, okay, I can just slide over here. And to your point, it's not plug and play. That's for sure.
And it's not easy to learn the partnership ecosystem in multifamily because there are so many companies, and Optech is a great example. When even the young companies emerge, and then
Yes.
you hear these fast pitches, and they're fantastic. But aren't you sometimes scared? And this is not to provoke, something. Oh, you should be scared of a new tech. But like, are you scared to actually implement in something that you may think it might be incredible, but you're afraid that potentially they might not have the knowledge to back up this tech that is just fantastic.
Yeah, I think we probably both in our careers have experienced where the barrier is. And we can almost, they're brilliant ideas. Great innovators are here at this conference, and they bring in great products to the market. But we almost can go, oh boy, I know where the obstacle is that they're going to run into.
Yeah, can you maybe, because this is fascinating to me, right? Hopefully one day I'm going to be entrepreneur. We'll see. My dream, one day, maybe.
Yeah.
But no, what would be the successful recipe for implementing in tech? What do the young companies have to be aware of when they approach you? Like, what is really the essence? What do they need to know in order to roll you out successfully? What is the infrastructure for such thing?
I think they need to know everything they have to tie out to. So again, so that we don't get data silos, that we're not having to log into multiple dashboards.
So seamless, right?
It needs to be seamless. Yes, and actually, I want you to do that before you come to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're not afraid of being pioneers, but guinea pigs, we're not. We don't want to be a guinea pig, and that's where I think that's a balance, if you will.
So they should go to market when they already have.
I think they
the
should ask a few more
relationships
questions before they go to market.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's adding those questions, or at least the pitch is we want to develop alongside you. Because that's a different
That's a
different
different- yes.
conversation. And different operators are going to have a different appetite or the time to have an appetite, because I honestly would be more open if the timing is right to develop alongside than the assumption and not asking the question.
Right.
It's a totally different conversation then. And then it goes back to that like context and capacity. Okay, if we know we're going to invest our time in co-developing, there's going to be some growing pains along the way, but we know it's going to be conversations and questions in both directions to learn about that, to make it seamless, or be committed to knowing that, hey, you got to roll your sleeves up for this one.
Yeah, but
Because
that's a
they're-
true partnership, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and exactly. We're not, if we're going to build it alongside of you, then I know that there's a different amount of human capital behind that. It's not going to just be a couple of meetings and we get there, which, how many marketing teams or operations teams or systems integrations teams can afford to take those partnerships on in a year? It's not nearly as many as it is to say, I'm willing to A/B test a couple of products and see which one works best for us when you've come to us fully able to integrate with everything we need.
I do think it's really valuable and speaks to the character of a vendor partner too, when they know their limitations, when they can say these are where the walls stop, and we're going to let you know that up front, and not like, oh gosh, we found that later when we popped the hood.
Yeah.
And that creates a different, like I think of it too when we look about our customer service and reputation. Happy customers are not happy because everything goes right. It's how you handle the things that go wrong. So I think being upfront and honest about limitations builds that trust when you go to decide what
Yeah.
decision you're going to make or if you're going to move forward with the partnership.
Yeah.
What's more important, trust or experience?
But that's hard.
Oh. I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in order for us to have the right relationship, I have to trust you, but you have to have the experience probably before there would be trust. It's a hard one.
I think it's two different roads, because the pathway to progress and getting success is different than the pathway to trust. You need to be mindful of both, because even the most incredible solutions that have the best tech, if you don't have trust, that relationship thing is really, really hard to come back from.
So don't pitch. It's going to be seamless until you have experience.
Until you have a couple under your belt that were seamless.
Yeah. Right.
Then you can use that as a part of your marketing tagline.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Here,
rolling into
young
that case
companies
study.
out there, you hear it? Juicy content here.
I think that's a great advice and a great analog to property management, right? Where it is that we know things are going to go wrong, but being upfront about it really does build that trust that they know, that they'll be in it with you when things go wrong, which is great. Let's talk a little bit more about change resistance, just because we know it's such a hot topic and certainly controls a lot of the pace. And I know you mentioned, Katie, it's like, hey, there's always this effort from a HQ perspective of getting it right and not doing too much. But we know as operators, like we don't always get it right, right? Sometimes things are just moving too fast, and we don't know that. So, what are some of those signals that you see where it's like, okay, despite our best, intentions, we know that we have an issue here. Like we are moving too fast. What are those signals that you listen for, and how do you work through that?
Well, I think it's engagement. So if it is a tool that the on-site team members need to use, if you are seeing low engagement, there's a problem. And if you're seeing no engagement, you probably should put the brakes on quickly because something is really, really wrong. We have a group that we have at our company that we call Innovation Champions. It's something that our team members are proud to be a part of, and they are recognized and their opinions are very valued as we're going through these processes. But the minute we see them sort of no longer attend meetings, they come and they don't have a lot to say, something is wrong. And so you really have to then start saying, okay, you guys are typically not quiet. I'm just going to call it out. Something's wrong. Let's talk about it right now, because we can't get any further down this path if something is really not working.
I think that's great. It's the silence, right?
Yeah.
It's a funny one. You think
Silence
you're
is
gonna hear about
deadly.
it, but yes,
Yeah. When the Teams or the Slack chat is no longer going off in a pilot chat, or certain conversations, questions are coming in, it's like, ooh, something's not working right now.
Yes.
yeah.
But I love that you actually have a program that promotes innovation and promotes something new, because the change, only person that stopped growing is not changing anymore, right? So change is always going to be there. And I think there should be more programs like you guys have implemented in multifamily.
Well, we learned, say the word beta or pilot has an end.
Yeah.
So we said we don't want to do that. The reason why we're bringing this to the table is we want it to be successful, hence the word champion. And then it's usually innovation. So we paired the two words together. And like I said, the teams are proud to be a part of that group, and they're celebrated and recognized in team meetings and company meetings. So it's really been beneficial for us to really approach it that way.
What a great way to invest in a company culture, too.
Right.
Even if you aren't one of those champions, just to be able to celebrate other people or see other employees feel invested in, like that's exciting and energizing, even if you aren't in that exact seat. So I love that from an
And
employee.
give them a chance to shine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Yeah. No, that's great. Let's talk. So we talked a lot about the on-site teams, but we know the regionals and a lot of the operational staff is super important to this whole process. So how have you gone about building adoption and buy-in at that level too? Beyond we all have tons of meetings and things like that, but how do you really foster that culture at the regional level, the adoption at the regional level? How have you tackled that?
For us, it looks like, and how it's been in my career, is involving those roles in earlier than you think. And sometimes that feels like it's slowing down the process, or sometimes it can seem like there's too many cooks in a kitchen, but they have really valuable perspective. Even if you're 1 degree separation away from on site, as a regional manager, the pain points you're starting to trend and see across portfolios. And they can say, oh, wow, this actually is going to be a huge solve, or bring up a question that you never thought of. So I think getting that buy-in from them, involving them in the decision making when appropriate, being a part of the dialogue, allowing them to ask questions, asking them questions, it really understanding the why at those levels is critical, because a lot of times I've found you really need regional champions for things to be successful. It's great to have on-site champions, but if you don't have regional champions, you're going to have some speed bumps along the way.
I absolutely agree wholeheartedly. And communication. I don't think you can have too many conversations with the stakeholders one level above. Everyone's going to have an opinion, and just letting everyone know. And We have a monthly meeting where all of our departments are there, and we're specifically speaking with the regional managers. It's like an information download so that they're always they're always kept up to date, because you can do surveys of your team members, and I don't care what industry you work in. It's one of the biggest things that people will say is, I don't feel like I'm being communicated to enough. And so we've really, really tried to tackle that as an organization in the last couple of years. And we've seen some good results, but you just have to keep at it. You have to keep at it. But to your point, it's getting them involved earlier than you thought. Because if you have a regional manager who either supports it, doesn't support it, doesn't understand it, likely that on-site teams they're just going to be like, well, I can tell my leader has an opinion about this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they're trying to follow that signal.
That's
from their
right.
leader,
They're
and
getting
if
this.
it's-
They're getting
yeah.
that. Yes.
Well, and I think that's an interesting part too, right? It's that you're going to communicate, and I don't know. I kind of think no matter what, you'll always have some folks that are just the most resistant to change, and it's finding that balance. So, how do you all find that balance of you want the open dialogue, you want the open challenge, you also need folks to come along with the new strategy and the new ideas. How do you kind of balance that as far as making sure they're heard, but still pushing things in the direction that you need to go as a company?
Non-negotiables.
Being upfront with that.
You have to be upfront with it, right? I mean, your opinion is very valuable. We want you to share your experience, but this is something we have to implement. This is the direction that we're going in as an organization, and we have to adopt it. So that means we've got to figure it out, and your challenges are only going to help us to get to figure it out at the speed we need to.
Yeah, those are always really difficult conversations and a really fine line, because you want your employees to feel heard and you don't want those folks to go silent. But that's where I love to have, like, if there is a peer champion to combat that, like, hopefully they have a good trust and relationship, like what we talked about earlier. So to see things through a lens of a peer is not, like, obviously there are non-negotiables, but to go alongside, I think that's been a helpful conversation, when it's like you're not just getting this force from above, but like, let me show you and work alongside why we're doing this and how we're doing this, because sometimes the naysayers just don't feel heard. So making sure you do help them feel heard, but also, like you said, there are boundaries and non-negotiables that we have to make certain business decisions at certain times.
Right. So I have a question, actually. Let's build on this, because it's fascinating. You have different clients, right?
Yes.
Student housing, and and the adults, right? And so, who do you think? And also, you have to work with. You have student housing as leasing agents,
Yeah.
right? Do you think it is easier as they're young for them to adapt the new technology, and it's less of a burnout because they already adapted so fast? Or is it more of a burnout when you see and just as seasoned leasing teams, and they're struggling with the adoption, and the burnout is great because they can keep up with what's new? Where do we land here?
So we call it technology fatigue instead of burnout.
Okay.
And I think technology fatigue comes from too many rollouts in a very short period of time. So again, that's sort of that innovation champion program that we have, is we're not always choosing the exact same communities to try these, to test something out on. So your first question was whether or not the younger team members are adopting to technology faster. I would say that their ease of use is faster. However, the challenge is that they have a different approach to customer service. They have a different
challenges,
They have
right?
different challenges that they
Yeah.
bring to the table. Some of our team members probably they've had an iPad their whole life, or majority of their life. They probably didn't have a landline phone in their house, so telephones are very challenging. And it's not that they don't know what it's for, but having telephone conversations is
Difficult.
it's difficult. It's difficult. And, I'm not trying to say anything bad. I've got younger children that, I understand it. So I think they're fast at adopting it, but they bring their own set of challenges to the table.
Absolutely. There's a genuine fear in the student demographic to talk to a person you don't know.
They talk online all the time, right?
But online.
Online. But if you're picking up a phone or face to face, sometimes there is a genuine fear there, whether that's meeting our customers at that fear or meeting our staff who have that fear. Because I think you really hit the nail on the head. Like certain things when we talk about conversational AI, they're like, oh yeah, we're going to do this. Da, 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 da. Have you combed through the customer service? Have you updated the knowledge base? Have you slowed down to make sure, like, yes, they want to dive in. I love that. That's completely different than in a previous role where I had. That wasn't the case. They were very fearful to use it. Some people. But like you said, they have their own challenges. They have different challenges and, are educating and educated very differently because of the pandemic. So it's a different set of challenges.
Do you think it's going to reshape the future of multifamily, how tech can pick up for this lack of really communication or fear of picking up the phone? And so do you think that's going to be a shift in the future? Because, all the young people, they're going to be, seeking employment with you, or they will live with you.
Yeah.
So they have a different set of expectations when it comes to tech, or what they want to do or what they don't want to do. Do you think that's going to reshape how we go about multifamily in the future?
I hope not. I don't ever want to stop talking.
I know, right? We're in marketing.
I know, we're in marketing. I don't ever want to stop talking. But yes, I really think the landscape is going to change with some of the challenges that the way that they want to do business is going to change a little bit on what we do on site.
So to build on it, where's the opportunity you think that multifamily hasn't got yet, and there is a huge opportunity that we can fix something? Is there anything that you've seen that maybe that is here, or maybe you thought about but nobody solved for this yet?
Well, we have the ability to book an appointment online. We have the ability to look at real-time availability, and we can see rents and we can see fees. And we're becoming much more self-serving for our guests as they're online. But not all of those systems are perfect yet, and I know perfect is a really big stretch. But we still have some issues with integration that I think we're going to have to solve for. That, I get it. There are going to be hiccups in technology, and maybe one day one appointment didn't sync properly, but it's when you see it happening more often than not. I had a question the other day brought up of, what do you use ChatGPT for? The entire audience almost all said, I use it to book my travel. I use it to do my itineraries. I ask it all these questions, and I think that that's coming in our industry. I'm going to go to my AI source as a searcher and say, where do I want to live? This is the school district I need to be in, or this is where my once in a while I have to go into the office, or I like this area for entertainment, and maybe this is close to where I work out, and that's the most important thing to me, right? I think that behavior is going to change, and yeah.
Well, and we're already starting to see that in student. And that's what
Yes.
we're doing when we look at our digital marketing strategies. What is our AI optimization for prompted answers before they actually scroll down and click into anything? Forget being on page one.
Yes.
They're not even going past that prompted answer.
That's right.
Or within their different chat models. So we're looking at it as like, how are we investing campaign dollars behind, frequently anticipated questions so those answers are served up, or how we are putting in dollars for geo strategies, how TikTok is used as a search engine, streaming out. It's all these places that our students are at. They don't want to be sold to, but they want to have it served up and feel like they did the search the way they wanted. So we're already seeing it in student, and it's exciting. Because what's really cool about that is like the student demographic is also super eager to make the TikTok videos, and then we can create ads much quicker because it's something they have adopted in their everyday life, even outside of work.
And it's fun for them, right?
It's very fun for them. We get to
Yes.
have cool contests, and I love seeing their creativity shine. So it's pretty cool, but it's already coming. But I think also people still want to have choices.
Yeah.
Meet them where they're at. If they want to not talk to a human, provide that option. If they do want to talk to a human, let me self-select and self-serve to no, I do want to have that conversation. for student, or if the student wants to, do everything not talking to someone, but the parent wants to call and verify.
Yeah.
You have
Yes.
to provide both of those options to meet our customers where we are at and listen to what their behaviors are rather than us just telling them what their behaviors should be.
Yes, and I think you're right on point. I feel like AIO is going to be the hottest topic of 2027. Six, sorry, am I trying? Yeah, six. Well, and seven.
And, yeah.
Yeah,
Truly.
yeah, and it's really it's all about like do you guys think you're gonna directly integrate with OpenAI, ChatGPT, just to like boost your rankings? Have you started these conversations already?
We're starting those conversations as we're evaluating our marketing spend, evaluating also what times of year is it appropriate to invest in which channel. Because for us, it's like, are our students on campus or are they at home? In the conventional world, are they relocating? Is it hyper local to where you're at? Because that is another component of it. But these are absolutely conversations we're having as we're looking at our budgets and where and what we need to invest in and why.
Yeah, so great opportunity.
Certainly. All right. Well, we've talked a bit about some of the technology that you're excited about. What technology do you think you see a lot of people in the industry excited about that you're pretty skeptical about? So we're going to get the real deal here. Want to start?
Well, I'm skeptical on some of the new screening approval processes that are out there. I think that's one of my biggest concerns, and I look at it really, again, if I go back to the user experience, it has to be seamless. It needs to be easy for the on-site teams to get people through it. And we're changing an entire way that people are applying, and when there's a new screening system there that they're not used to, you're seeing an abandon rate increase, and that's what I'm skeptical and scared of.
Yeah, that's very problematic, right? You worked
Yes,
hard to get
I
these
worked
people
hard.
interested in
Yes.
your community,
Yes.
and then you're losing them in the application.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's rough. How about you, Katie?
Oh gosh, it's hard right now because we're in a process of like evaluating our marketing tech stack and determining. So I think I'm cautiously optimistic. It's just where am I investing my time and trying to double down on the channels that we do. So I would say there's nothing I'm not necessarily not bought in on. It's not a no. It's just a not right now. I don't want to be a pioneer in certain things. I'm like, let's see how you pan it out with
What they can do to gain your trust.
Yeah, I'm a big trust relations person. So
Yeah, but yeah, what can they do? So if you are evaluating,
Yeah.
that's a hot signal for a technology company
Yes.
because you're looking at them, you're
Yeah.
evaluating. So what can they do to actually really gain your trust and really sway you over, right? Like, is there
Yeah.
any methodology behind it?
I mean, the biggest thing I would say a methodology in building trust is not rushing the decision. Because if you're going to rush the decision on me, regardless of what tech it is, like I've already shared, we're not making this decision right now. I'm a very transparent person in my current or potential partnerships. If you try to then go and rush it, it's an immediate like, okay, I'm going to pump my brakes even harder.
Is it turn off?
Yeah. I'm like, okay, like, trust me, like, if I tell you I'm interested but not right now, please respect and listen to that. Because otherwise it puts a bad taste in our mouth or our team's mouth. So I think that's honestly one of the biggest things is don't try to rush the sale. If an operator is telling you we're not ready to make this decision right now, or find out when they are ready to make the decision so you can meet them where they're at. Now I get it, sales teams, they have quotas, they have things that they have to meet, just like we do with leasing.
That's right. That's
We
right.
don't want to rush our customers either. So I think, but that's one of the biggest things is like if I gave you that feedback, don't
Respect it.
respect it. Yeah,
Respect it. What's a polite way to follow up with you after that feedback? Like, is it like, oh, so let's touch base in a few months? Like, maybe, like, what would you give them tips on how to? And I'm not in sales, so this is not for me.
Yeah.
This is for the audience and hot technology out there. So yeah, if you could give them advice, like what to do in that moment.
I love when partners will share like, is 30 days a good time to touch base? Is 2 months? Or when are you looking to deepen this conversation? So approaching it with curiosity, suggesting a time obviously helps guide it along. If you tell me 30 days, I may be more apt. If you ask me when, I may say 60.
Yeah.
So, but like actually, again, it goes down to asking those questions and then, or understanding right now, even if it's outside of the realm of solutions a tech provider provides, like what's keeping you up at night right now? What are your top priorities? So I can keep that in mind, whether it's conversationally or just know, like, I understand it's not just that you're telling me no, but like you have other priorities.
Yeah.
Those are big things, I'd say.
Any words of advice?
I agree. You know, my thought is intentional check-ins, and that's really setting that when is the best time for us to get back together to have this conversation again. I think I'm an action plan person, so before I get off the call with you, I'm going to set what are the next things we're going to do together. Is the next time that we meet, are we going to have other stakeholders on the call? The next time that we meet, are we doing a deeper dive on the technology? Are we, where are we at? And then again, very intentional check-ins, I think is really what. And don't send me the contract on the 27th and say, do you think we can have this signed by the end of the month?
Yeah.
Please don't do that.
How many times has it happened?
Please don't do that. I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to wait until 11:59. No.
Well, so let's get specific. Don't say the name of the vendor, but think about the one vendor relationship that you have that you value the most, you have the most trust with. What do they do differently? And you can only pick one, but again, no names.
I think it is the intentional check-ins.
Okay.
We have a very specific cadence, and I don't have the same cadence with every type of vendor. Some vendors I don't need to meet with weekly. Right now, there's a vendor that I need to meet with weekly. Our list of to-dos is very, very long, and I can't let 5 business days go by without having another check-in with them. So,
All right. Committing that time.
Yeah. Gosh, okay, so the ones that do it right,
Your
or
favorite.
Your favorite vendor you worked with.
What puts them in that favorite category?
it'll always come back to trust. You know, they're being upfront. I agree with the sentiment. You don't need to have the same cadence. It's not like a checkbox of meet with me weekly, monthly for everyone to check that box. I think, but knowing you have trust that that to-do list is being handled, or proactive communication and sharing that we know this is the progress we've made, this is what's on deck, this is when you can expect to have this resolved, because sometimes they don't manage that expectation. So I think the people that really best, when I think of who exactly it is, they're managing those expectations and they're cultivating that trust and delivering on them. They're not just saying things to make you happy, they're consistently delivering on them.
That's great. All right, I think we've got just a few minutes left. Want to talk a little bit about the stories that you tell your team. So would love to hear an example of a story that you tell your team that builds the excitement and the why behind the importance of this digital shift. So would love to hear kind of more specifically about that story.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories, we live in a time where like certain analogies, the words we use, we don't know why they make sense anymore. So one I love to tell is like hot leads. So when I started I started as a leasing associate. Part of why it was called hot leads is because it was a fax machine and the paper was hot. And it's literally like in a digital age, it's like, oh, it's hot because we need to react to it right away. They have high intent to rent, but it was physically a hot fax. And we got so excited. We got a lead. Let's go with our paper guest card. And it was just, it's funny. And I love working in student because a lot of people are like, wait, what?
That's exciting.
Yeah. It's like the camaraderie around like this hot lead that came in. So I think just like the shift of like how things were done, it was also much more simple. It was on the plates at that point in time. So you could
So
be
true.
excited with your little hot lead running through the office. But that's a story I love. I love to kind of share when you look back and how things have evolved.
Then they have to go Google what a fax machine is. I love
right?
it. That's
right?
great.
Exactly. Exactly.
I have just one more question for all of you, also including you, Kara. If you could describe Optech in one word only, what would it be?
Go with future.
Future,
Innovative.
innovative,
Energized.
energized.
What's your
Oh,
word?
what's my word?
Yes.
I think I'm gonna go with impactful. Yeah. Well, thank you, ladies.
Thank
has
you.
been
Thank you.
tremendously amazing to host you here. And Kara, thank you for joining as a co-host. You're unstoppable. All of you are. I think the next meeting is Women in Tech, right? So we're gonna be out there. Thank you, audience. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, that was so fun.
It was a lot of fun.
It was smooth.